Hi, all. Welcome back to Walk with Neil. I'm out here talking about tech leadership and strategy as I get my steps in on my daily walk here in Brooklyn. I'm Neil Bay. I bring startup speed to enterprise scale, and you might say calm to the chaos in between. Today's topic is explaining the difference between short-term execution versus long-term strategy, a difference every capable engineering leader should learn to navigate. While it seems easy enough to comprehend, it's often overlooked. Be it an MVP, a relaunch, a new platform, without zooming out to see the bigger picture beyond launch day, it can be terribly short-sighted. In today's episode, I'll unpack why speed alone can't be the strategy. I'll walk through the why we find ourselves building for the short term and outline key considerations for future-proofing your product, from system design and scalability to data. Whether you're launching an MVP or leading a scaling platform, this is a conversation about building with intention. If you're building fast but know you need to future-proof your platform, this video is for you. Now, it's exciting to say we're going to move fast, to ship quickly, to say we'll build it in 90 days with a couple of devs. Or we often hear fail fast, fail often. And yes, this is a reasonable approach when budgets are tight, and also speed can be a competitive advantage. But speed without foresight and focusing only on the near term, we can paint ourselves into a corner. Why do we find ourselves in this position? Well, sometimes it can be lack of leadership foresight. Sometimes the person driving the vision is only contracted for a short time for a specified deliverable and not seeing beyond that. A more indirect cause and effect, and probably most debatable, is the developer does everything mindset. That may be a bit controversial, but hear me out to the end. Dev teams are now more cross-functional than ever, or at least think they are. And developers may find themselves doing everything from design, customer support, managing infra, responding to production fires, and all while sitting in meetings and working on the next feature or launch. And they're also bogged down by supporting what they already launched. That can be a lot of context switching for engineers, regardless of capabilities. Studies show we lose 40% of our productivity in context switching alone. So with those situations in mind, we often build only for the immediate deliverable, and we risk not having the architectural and operational foundations we need later, which equates to more time and money later digging yourself out of the hole you built for yourself. A CTO or any engineering leader isn't there just to ship code. We're there to protect the vision. So if you see this possible situation at your company, next thing you might ask is, what sort of strategic thought should we even be considering? If your business has aspirations to eventually leverage AI, scale on volume, or scale globally, then your organizational or project decisions made today need to keep that longer-term roadmap in mind. That includes thinking about volume, not just users, but the volume of potential data in your system or the volume of transactions it will need to process. And maybe you can handle the MVP expectations, but you still have to think about the potential long-term cost of those possibilities and build in an option to pivot early on. Ask yourself, is your architecture ready for that? Or are you building something that will crumble under growth? Patterns like message queues are lifelines when your system needs to handle spikes, retries, or heavy load. Should you build with that possibility in mind? How about security? Is your infrastructure secure, scalable, cloud native, or is it going to bottleneck you later? What are the consequences when your site is unavailable for hours or your data gets hacked? I'm not talking about over-engineering your initial solution. I'm talking about laying the right foundation and not locking yourself into patterns that could harm you later. In most systems I've built, when addressing risk in the architecture, it's always good to bake in a plan B or flexibility in the initial system design, so you're anticipating a pivot when that risk or opportunity comes to fruition. That might mean designing interfaces so you can swap components later, or building with modularity so you can scale pieces independently, or building containerized applications so you're not stuck on your existing cloud solution. Maybe you'll have to plan for an architecture that doesn't have an over-reliance on a critical system vendor or partner. Now, let's get back to data. In an AI-driven world, that's especially important. Companies often don't treat data like the valuable commodity it is. While machine learning algorithms can handle unstructured data, they can still result in a garbage in, garbage out scenario. Perhaps make the model normalized or modular enough that different parts of the system can evolve independently. Maybe consider capturing event level or transactional data in a way that you could later run analytics or feed into a machine language model. And look, I get it. Scrappy matters, and sometimes you have no choice but to only build for the immediate. Slapping a beta label on your MVP may be enough, but sometimes it's not. Pressure from senior management may often force us to take shortcuts now to show results, but as engineering leaders, we want to avoid death by 1,000 cuts later. It should not hurt to evaluate or ask those questions before hands start touching keyboards. Obviously, I pose a lot of questions for you to ponder here than answers, but that said, if you can afford to, you can still ship fast while engaging the right expertise, even on a fractional or short-term basis. You don't need a full-time DevOps or data or AI architect, or even a big QA team, but having someone even temporarily who can set up the skeleton correctly or helps your team understand the potential implications and consider future pain points early on, this can save you months of pain later. So ultimately, my point is leadership in engineering isn't just about velocity to launch, it's about vision. You have to ask, are we launching in a way that sets us up to scale and evolve? So on your next sprint or your next big build, take a moment to zoom out. Deliver fast, sure, but deliver smart. Bring in those resources to evaluate those implications if you can afford to. As usual, feel free to reach out if you're looking for input on your own initiatives. For now, I'll see you on the next Walk with Neil. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and leave a comment. I'm always open to debate and hearing alternative viewpoints. Thanks for joining.